Alright folks, poster, welcome back to another Poem Masters video, and after going over the 3 stars, 4 stars, Stumble units in the game, folks did want me to also go over the free-to-play units as well, and free-to-play units generally are better than Stumble 3, 4 stars, which is kind of ironic since like 3, 4 stars you have to like actually like, you know, pay for, and then with you know, limited currency, and then like free to play units are free. So and they're just so much stronger, right? But it's mostly obviously because they do have their sync grids, which again, some both 3 stars, 4 stars do not have, but again, it just makes them that much stronger. And for this list, I'm actually gonna split them like kind of like into two. We're gonna have, you know, we're gonna have like a separate tiers for like the units that don't have grids, because again, you know, the units that don't have grids, just it's really hard to compete with the ones that do have grids. There are some that are, you know, probably as good, but again, we'll just separate them and then we'll see what happens once they do get grids. So there's that. So as usual, these are generally ranked on their usability, and how powerful they are in general. So yeah, and mostly single player, not co-op. So whatever, Legendary Arena, Full Force Battle, all that stuff. So Ultra Art Training Course. No, I'm kidding. Let's get into this. So we're gonna just talk about the ones with the without grids first. We're gonna rank these first. So let's just go with the let's just do the ones with that don't have grids and are kind of meh. First one I'm gonna throw in there is Sylveon. Sylveon unfortunately just doesn't do damage. That's the thing about it. It's a striker and it doesn't do damage, which is kind of sad. And extra sad because it's like our only fairy type striker in the game. Like, sure, it's usable just because it's the only fairy type striker in the game, but like, if you have like any like decent striker that's non-fairy type, you'd probably use them instead of Sylveon, unfortunately. So yeah, sad day for Sylveon. Moving on. Next one I'm gonna put in here as well is Tyranitar. Tyranitar is okay. Like it's bad, but it's not like really bad. But it's so bad. So there's that. If it does get a grid, it will be much better, honestly. Tyranitar. You know, unlike stuff like Sylveon, Tyranitar does have like decent potential in a grid, right? So hopefully it gets a decent grid, but otherwise at the moment Tyranitar's kind of meh. All right, moving on. Next one in here, and our first legendary. Rayquaza, unfortunately. So here's the thing with Rayquaza. Is it usable? Can't really like, you know, put it here, usable. Yes, it is. Reason why I'm not putting it there is it's just like you would use any other dragon type over Rayquaza. If you have a dragon type striker that, you know, is not Rayquaza, you will use it over Rayquaza. Lance is better, and Lance isn't, you know, the best. Lance is better, Haxorus is better, Kyndra is better, right? And Haxorus and Kyndra are free, so you just won't use Rayquaza, unfortunately. Moving on, next one in here, we're gonna put Hapu Mudsdale. I think about Hapu and Mudsdale is it's also kind of sort of usable, because like Mudslap it's a Mudslap's decent move, and you can do okayish damage with it. It's just that it's just not good overall, right? There are better units that could do that. Clement, right? Cynthia. So yeah, that's where Hapu Mudsdale is gonna be. Next one, Slacking. Slacking probably gonna put here as well. Slacking does good damage, but it's a recoil user, and you know, like all recoil users, not the greatest, unfortunately. However, and when it does get a, you know, sync grid, it could be a really good sync nuker, because Slacking, because of it being a normal type, it does have good sync move damage, but also since it's normal type, you don't there's nothing that you hit for super effective. So there's that as well. Anyways, moving on, the ones that have no grid and are usable, which are just basically the ones left here, right? Solgaleo, or Solgaleo, I guess it's called. It's okay. It just needs a lot of Solgaleo just needs a lot of support, but once it does get the support, it does really good damage, right? Nanu, Screech, -2 defense, really good, obviously. Next, Charon, Apply Yourself, I think that's what it's called, right? The trainer move. It's basically X regen all, but also gives you gauges. Also good, also full heal, even though full heal is not that great, but there's that. Onyx, you have 1 gauge spam and then potion, good defenses. Torchic, really good support with buffs. You have, you know, X attack all and Blazing Hope, which gives you crit and special attack as well. And then you also have Flame Charge to increase your own speed. Ho is probably the best legendary that we have so far, not counting Mew. It's just straight up, you know, it does like so many things, right? It burns, it does good damage, and obviously the most important part is it has infinite sun, which, you know, no one else in the game can do. Slight downside is that it dies too easily, so there's that, unfortunately, but you're not gonna tank with it anyways. It's just you have to worry about sync moves. Arbok kind of gets out, like, Arbok is borderline. Like, Arbok does get outclassed by, like, a lot of other poison type units, but, like, it does good. It's okay. Like, on paper, it's fine. Like, there's nothing really wrong with it on paper. It's just that it kind of gets outclassed, so, like, if you want to put it here, it's fine as well, right? And then last but not least, Mewtwo is really good. Like with all these, you know, legendaries, except for Rayquaza, right? They have really good battle ability uses. They have, you know, type coverage and 2 type coverages, so you can just use them for multiple stages, which is really good. Mewtwo still does good damage. Mewtwo has good stats. Unfortunately, it does get a bit outclassed now, in terms of damage by a lot of other units, but it's still good. It's still good. Moving on. So now we're going to talk about the ones with grids, and let's start from the top. The first one we're putting in here is Swanna, Skyland Swanna. They honestly, if I wanted to, I could just like do this instead. Add a row above Swanna, and it's just gonna be like Swanna in there by herself. But you know, that's kind of weird and pointless, but you guys get the point. Swanna is just is so incredibly powerful. It's probably again, in my opinion, the best unit in the game, tied with Serena and Sabrina, right? She's devastatingly good. So like everyone else in this tier, like, are all good as well, but like just Swanna is just gonna be like head and shoulders above everyone else. So speaking about everyone else, let's, you know, fill this tier up a bit more. Torkoal really good. Good damage on Ember, right? 1 gauge spam Ember that does like insane amounts of damage for a 1 gauge move. You have Will-O-Wisp, Burn, there's that. Good defenses. You know, now that we're at 3 out of 5, and when I'm mentioning these, I'm just gonna mention, you know, how many, where they are in comparison to like how many dupes we have so far, right? So for example, Crobat or Masquerain, we're just gonna talk. Oh, I guess Masquerain, yeah, we could talk about 3 out of 5, but Crobat, I guess, is the big one that we can't really talk about 3 out of 5. Right, but yeah, Torkoal really good. Grid and Culp as well. It's just straight up just a really busted unit that does like a bunch of things. Let's see who else we could put in here. Serperior, I guess. Serperior is falling off a bit slightly. I wouldn't say it falls. Its role just changes, right? It used to be, you know, a great tank, with good gauge support and special attack. And it still does that, except it's just not a great tank anymore, unfortunately. It's just that, like, the tanks have gotten so much better recently. Or not recently, ever since. It's been a while, right? Like, you know, the standard for tank has just, like, been raising ever since, like, Mew, Rotom, now with, like, Steelix, Torterra, and even, like, Torkoal to an extent at, 3 out of 5. Same with, all that stuff. So, it just doesn't tank as good anymore, but it still does everything else exceptionally well. So we're gonna put keep it here. Next up, Starmie. Starmie is just incredible, right? X special defense all, gives you heals, also gives you evasion. It's just great. 3 out of 5 is gonna be even more busted, but at the moment we only have 2 out of 5, right? Moving on, let's see who else we could put in here. Oh, Pikachu. The old reliable Pikachu, right? The Swanna before Swanna got her grid. Still really good. Generally a better healer than Swanna, again, because Swanna's at 2 out of 5. Once Swanna gets to 3 out of 5, then it's over, right? But it's just that Swanna does other things better, right? It also gives you speed, defenses, all that stuff. It's tanky, and Pikachu doesn't have any of that. However, Pikachu does have a 1 gauge spam with move gauge refresh, and also has hostile environment on the Thunder Shock, which has a good chance to paralyze, so that's always nice. Moving on, last one probably going to put in this tier is Haxorus. And it's going to be like the only striker up here. Like Haxorus is like kind of borderline. Haxorus's ceiling, damage ceiling, is decent, right? But more importantly, Haxorus is really good because of the fact in Villa it doesn't really need support. You just take out the sides and then you get attack buffs, right? And also Haxorus is only up here if it is a 3 out of 5 Haxorus with lesson confusion 9, right? Without or some kind of decent lesson confusion. Without lesson confusion, Haxorus is kind of potato. Anyways, moving on to I guess the next here, right? Next here, let's put Kyndra in here. Kyndra has a really high damage ceiling as well. It's just a bit harder set up in comparison to Haxorus, right? Unfortunately. And it's like its buffs are weird. So there's that, especially now that Locust Heals are a thing. So there's that. Anyways, next one here, Masquerain. Masquerain does good stuff. Tanks okay-ish. Has both, has trap and special attack decreases. Really great Houndoom partner. So there's that. Acerola gonna put in here. Acerola could be potentially borderline S tier as well. It's just that if you don't have Cynthia, like she's like not as good, but she's still like a lot of people, have a misconception of Acerola is like potato without Cynthia. Acerola is still really good without Cynthia, right? As defense buffs for herself, so she can attack decently well, and she has gradually heals. So the combination of that makes it really good. On that, and also Astonish with aggravation, really great chance to flinch the opponent. Obviously very powerful, and it's a 1 gauge flinch, so there's that as well. But with Cynthia, like Acerola is just right. So moving on. Next one put here is Lucario. Lucario's really good. Oh, by the way, none of these are ordered. Just saying. I'm just pulling them out. I'm just pulling out the first one I see that's in this here. Lucario is really good. Very sustainable striker as well, which is definitely nice. Does good damage. Damage isn't like insane or whatever, but does decent damage. So there's that Lucario. Moving on. Let's see. Vileplume. Vileplume is really nice. Vileplume could do good damage if you wanted to. It's not as insane as Torkoal's, but it's still okay-ish. But mainly you're gonna use it for stuns plus tanking. It has really good special defenses. It has special defense and defensive buffs as well for itself. Paralysis, confusion if you want, and a lot of other stuff. You have Satisfy Snarl if you want to lower opponents' special attack, and also Energy Ball on a roll. Vileplume does a billion things. Lower opponent's special defenses, 2 Energy Ball move gauge refreshes. Vileplume is fantastic. Moving on, Meowstic is probably here as well. Meowstic tanks okay-ish. Meowstic, mainly because Meowstic has self-heals. Without self-heals, it's not as good. But aside from that, Meowstic does also have, again, Thunder Wave, Paralysis, and Confusion. The difference between Meowstic and I guess Vileplume for the most part is Vileplume does a few more stuffs. And Vileplume tanks a bit better. Well, I wouldn't say a bit better. Generally, a lot better. Well, I mean, Vileplume does kind of sort of need Sun to tank as good, right? So I guess that they have their upsides and downsides on that front. But Meowstic unequivocally just has so much more speed. Meowstic's speed is insane. I think it's in the 400s or something. For Meowstic, let me see. Where's Meowstic's speed? Yeah, 406. So really good speed there. Anyways, moving on. Oh, I forgot about Mew. Mew's up here as well. Mew is incredibly good. I forgot to rank Mew. But yeah, Mew really good defensive stats. Swift with Unfortuitous is what the heck, right? Got move gauge refresh with that. You could do a lot of stuff with Mew. You can make it a damage healer. There's 3 different elemental sets that you could run with Mew, which are all not the best, but are all decent. And then you also have potentially a good sync nuke with Mew, and Mew is again a really good tank, mainly due to its good defensive stats, its evasion that it could get, and with Shifty Striker, right? And then you also have First Aid, which again is really good in Battle Villa. So Muse up there as well. As for some the next tier, Infernape's here. Infernape we can get it to 3 out of 5 now. It's just Infernape gets like outclassed by a lot of other fire type strikers, unfortunately. And its grid is relatively, well, I wouldn't say relatively, its grid is really expensive. So there's that as well. A bit of a caveat. So I guess not much else to say about it. Infernape. Next one is Crobat. Crobat's 2 out of 5 grid isn't too good, but like Crobat at its base is really decent. So there's that. It just gives you like the standard stuff that you need for Crobat for the most part, right? You pick up the move gauge regens, all that stuff is nice, but like all the good stuff is at 3 out of 5. Once it gets 3 out of 5, it could potentially be in like that tier as well. But at the moment, it's just kind of it's there, I guess. Unfortunately, so yeah. Last one here is Berry. Berry is situational. Berry can be like really good in the right scenarios. But in like other scenarios, there isn't much use for Berry, unfortunately. Berry has an incredibly powerful sync nuke, right? So that's really good. So there's that, I guess. But again, like I mentioned, it's situational. In certain situations, it's really good. In other situations, it's struggling. Moving on to the last two in the C tier, Dugong and Raichu, Alolan Raichu, with no surprises, I don't think, right? Dugong, incredibly hard to set up. You know, once it does get set up, it does like insane damage. But again, very hard to set up and very hard to sustain that setup as well. So there's that, unfortunately, for Dugong. And as for Raichu, Raichu just doesn't do anything. Raichu just doesn't do anything. Sure, you could do some like decent damage with like inertia, but yes, outside of that, unfortunately, Raichu doesn't do much. So anyways, that's it with this one, I guess. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me know guys think in the comments down below. Like and enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel for some more Pokemon Masters content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.